Greetings, YouTubers! It's your illustrious Lady Rouge One Full here, and we're gonna talk about the worst anime ever. You think you've seen some bad animes? Well, you're wrong! This is the worst anime ever. Diabolik Lovers. Spelled with a K. Because Edge. This is the worst anime I've ever seen, and the worst vampire movie I've ever seen. So yes, I am saying it's worse than Twilight. Hold your collective gasp. Hear me out. I know we made our jokes and memes over the years saying it's still a better love story than Twilight, but Twilight's a better love story than this, okay? At least I know Edward and Jacob actually care about Bella. None of the guys here give a shit about Yui. She is a walking, talking, edible arrangement. So let's get into the grim and gritty. The plot. There isn't one. Okay, there is, but it's not enough to justify 12 episodes. It's hardly enough to justify 8. We have Yui, who has to move into a mansion with a bunch of teenage boys because her father has to work abroad. Okay, problem 1. Normally I wouldn't object to living in a mansion because, you know, mansion. But she couldn't have stayed at home. This girl is 17. Just send her money. Have her get a part-time job to pay for utilities. Literally anything but the option of her having to move in with complete and total strangers out of the blue. On top of the fact that no father on this planet would ever let their daughter stay in a house full of hormonal teenage boys. And her dad's a priest, so it makes no sense on multiple levels. It's not like he doesn't know who these people are. It's established in the first episode that there's a clear history between Yui's father and their family, because there's a room in their house that she's never been to before with a picture of her father and his notebook there. So Yui's brought there to basically be a sacrifice to the triplets' mother so she could come back to life, in a sense. So her father threw her to the wolves, basically, because they say in the very first episode that she isn't the first prospective bride. Other women have been here before, and they either didn't survive the process or these guys killed them because they have to be given specific instructions to not kill Yui. You know, if I was her, I'd be taking a long descriptive mental note of all the bullshit her father put her through. Hope you never need a kidney, Dad, because you're on your own for leaving my well-being in the hands of psychopathic murdering rapists. And yes, all 6 of them are all 3. She becomes the bride and the triplets' mother comes back to life, but how does she die, you ask? Well, the triplets killed her by shoving her out a window. Yeah, they don't have the traditional vampire weaknesses, but gravity will get us all apparently. Several story falls should be nothing to an actual vampire even after when one of her sons made a meal out of her, but hey, she dies from it. So the uncle who was having an affair with her before she died is ready to whisk a newly resurrected Cordelia away, but not before she gets in some much needed gloating. The uncle's probably the most likable out of everyone just because of how much of a devoted, lovesick fool he is, but even that doesn't last long because Cordelia can't keep her mouth shut. His brother, on the other hand, from what I gather, is a politician or something, with multiple lovers, all of whom have bared his children. Huh. That reminds me of something. The uncle also gets one of those mortal stabbing wounds. The blade isn't silver, it wasn't covered in holy water, it's just
stab, 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 dead, jail, end credits.
Goodbye, Uncle Richter. I sure hope you have a nice time burning in hell.
You and your brothers will be joining him, asshole. Yui does the smartest thing she's done all series and kills herself to get rid of Cordelia. And the reason is revealed why Yui was so special to begin with, why she ended up the prospective bride when so many others have failed before her. It's because their uncle put Cordelia's heart into Yui's body as a baby. Because putting an adult-sized heart inside of a baby makes total sense. And it just makes you think, why did they even bother bringing other women into this? Yui should have been able to rest in peace, but
Finally, I can.
duh end. So, pretty simple story, right? Why does it garner an entire review? Because the writing is shit, the morals are awful, and everyone in this is garbage tier. They're all hot dumpster fires. Not a single character is likable or salvageable. The main problems begin and end with the characters, but the writing is so bad that it really doesn't help. Let's start off with Yui. Yui is a dumbass bitch. I had forgotten how stupid she was until I had to rewatch the series for this review, but by God is she dumb. I can't call her a heroine because heroines actually do shit. All Yui does is stand there doe-eyed being helpless. She is being held hostage. There is no way around it. They're holding her against her will, but logic be damned. She sure doesn't act like it. They threaten her with bodily harm as she tries to leave. One of the brothers is either watching her or she can't walk 10 feet without bumping into one of them. They destroy her only means of communication, and of course, she can't get access to anything else. Meanwhile, this asswipe, the one I hate the most, 2 seconds after meeting her, is immediately trying to assault her. So you might think upon first watching that this series is about her trying to find a way to get the hell out of Dodge. Abandon all hope, ye who watched this shit, because you're giving her way too much credit. I know I did. What she does is that she keeps giving a shit about her captors. She asks them about their past, frequently, how they're doing, and what their family dynamic is like. Stop giving a shit. These people don't care about you. You are property at best, a meal at worst. The wiki describes her in a very interesting way, and by interesting I mean it's lies. Yui has a cheerful and optimistic personality, but can also be somewhat naive. I don't remember her smiling at all in this. Promotional material has her smiling, but I'll be damned if I actually remember seeing it. And constantly giving a shit about your captors isn't naivete, it's stupidity. It goes on to say, Yui seems to be very determined and strong-willed. She doesn't attempt to escape once. Doe-eyed whimper is the most action we get out of her. In the worst scenario, she doesn't mind any mean comments thrown at her by any of the vampires. As if that was her only problem, which it's not. And it's not like emotional abuse isn't a thing.
Look at you. Nobody wants you but me. You ain't shit without me. You without me equals shit. You understand that, you ugly fat bitch?
Despite such situations, she usually responds to the brothers with kindness. You know, like a moron. The writing is so shit and inconsistent that there is a point where after the second most hated character sucks her blood, she is able to leave the school and run into town and get to a payphone. But instead of calling the police, she calls her father. Why? Why are you calling him? And when she calls him, does it go to voicemail like logic dictates? Nope. Instead, this happens.
Hello, Father, it's Yui. Are you there? I've gotten caught up in something that makes no sense and I don't know what to do. Help me.
Something that makes no sense. It makes plenty of sense to me.
What? Is that her father's phone? How did you get a hold of that? The only one who knew Yui was coming was Shu, and he didn't say anything until after she got there. And her father is supposed to be overseas. This is never explained. The whole air of the scene is, he's a vampire, can just do these things motif. And no one should accept it. But the writing gets even worse. It's all culminated into this one scene, and it just proves how badly written it is. Yui, instead of going into a convenience store with a store clerk, aka a witness who could call the police for her, especially if this guy dragged her out of the store not of her own volition. But nope. Instead, she runs down an empty-ass street. Speaking of this empty-ass street, so in the next few shots, we get a Jumbotron spewing out exposition that shows their father and how they don't have a good relationship with him. Oh, baby, ask me if I care. And no, duh. None of you ever smile when you're talking about him. We get more character from your dead mothers than we do your living father. But the terrible writing isn't this exposition dump. It's this Jumbotron's existence. A Jumbotron means that there is a good amount of foot traffic coming in day and night. The best examples of this are Times Square, the Las Vegas Strip, and of course, Tokyo Square, where even at 3 a.m. it's hard pressed not to find a good amount of people walking the streets. So why waste the time, energy, and ad revenue to play something that literally no one is watching? Because the plot wouldn't work otherwise. If there were people around like there should be, and this guy was pulling Yui against her will, there would have been 4 or 5 guys ready to jump him to protect her, and the ensuing fight would have prompted multiple people to call the police, and then boom! All of them go to jail for kidnapping. The end! But of course, that doesn't happen, because that would make too much sense. And this cannot be a small town. The Jumbotron, as I mentioned, needs to be in a large city, or else what is the point? And then there's the school they attend. Look at this place. It's huge. There has to be hundreds, if not thousands of students that must attend it during the day. There's no way a small or medium-sized town could support this. And then there's the night classes, but oh, I'll get to the night classes. But I'm sure the shit writing with plot holes the size of Venus can come down to one big issue. It's a shit media transfer. Now, media transfers are an art form in and of themselves. What do you keep? What do you get rid of? And what do you change to make it correct for the media you're transferring it to? Which is why a standard novel can be one of the hardest media transfers. And it's why some of the most famous movies out there like Jaws and Jurassic Park look almost nothing like their original source books. Comic books and manga are easier media transfers because everything is laid out for you. But of course you can make changes to those medias too. I mean, Infinity War the movie is nothing like Infinity War the comic, especially when it comes to Thanos' motivations. However, that being said, Diabolik Lovers isn't a novel. It isn't a manga. It's a visual novel. And if you've played a visual novel, ever seen a playthrough of a visual novel, or just know the basic mechanics, then you know that your environment consists of you and whoever the hell you're talking to. You can be anywhere. A restaurant, a classroom where class is about to start, or downtown, and it will not matter. Your environment consists of you and whoever the hell you're talking to. This is fine. You don't need much outside of an establishing shot in a visual novel, but in an anime, you can't just ignore that other people exist in the world. Otherwise, you have scenes like this play out.
So did you enjoy your momentary brush with freedom, foolish little bitch?
Let go of me!
And somehow there's no consequences. Now, the best thing would have been for her to run down an isolated alley so she could get caught there. She'd still be an idiot, but it's better than this, or you could have cut the scene entirely and had the exposition dump done through a TV. Speaking of things that should have been cut, the school. It's bad enough you have empty city streets in a town that shouldn't have empty city streets, but the school is even worse. We're only in this school for 2 episodes and I nearly lost my mind with the lack of effort. In the first episode, we get several establishing shots of students, so other people exist. But even still, it's never explained whether or not the student body here are all vampires like the night class from Vampire Night is, which would literally take 2 seconds to establish. But regardless, when I first saw this episode, my thought process was, wow, it was really stupid of them to bring her to a place where there's lots of people. Maybe now she can get some help and someone can call the police. But nope. Because once again, the writing somehow managed to isolate her in a school of all places. She goes into a classroom right before class starts, and not only are there only just 2 other students there, not only is the teacher not there, but it's a free period in night school. Correct me if I'm wrong, but as far as I know, there wouldn't be free periods in night class. And of course, the other students are these asshats. And my most hated character takes advantage of the whole situation of there once again not being a single adult in sight and takes advantage of Yui, which segues into my next character point. All the guys, there's no point separating them because they all suck for the same reason. They're rapists. And I can hear some of you in the comments saying, but Rouge, you wonderfully delightful gal, you. How could you say that? None of them actually rape her. Well, one of them comes really close, as the rating will allow anyway, and in a church of all places. Which should make everyone think, if the rating was only slightly higher, do you really think any one of them would have hesitated to do it? All the guys are sexual abusers. Ayato feels the most entitled to her blood and drinks from her the most, and sees Yui as his personal Gatorade bottle. Lyato is the same, but with the added annoyance is that he never calls Yui by her actual name.
Little bitch, little bitch, little bitch. If it isn't little bitch, little bitch, little bitch. Hey, little bitch.
Shut up! Shut the fuck up, you arrogant pompous douche! Ugh. Kanado drinks from her as well, but with the added creep factor of being as appealing as the Children of the Corn. Shu also takes her blood without permission and is never in an establishing shot where he isn't laying on the couch. Which isn't a character detraction, it's just an observation. But from a meta perspective, it's really stupid. You have to get up, use your super speed to immediately lie down and pose. Because that's what he does, he poses. But hey, you gotta sell body pillows to thirsty ass women somehow, and they already have the template for it. Oh my god, I was kidding. Reiji is just as bad, if not slightly worse than Ayato, because when he first sucks her blood without permission, notice a pattern here, he drugs her. Yep, he spikes her tea. She shouldn't have taken it from him to begin with because she was asking Reiji about his dynamic with Shu, and I've said it before, she shouldn't give a shit about this. You are in a terrible situation. Don't take drinks from him. I'm pretty sure that's an unspoken bar rule. Don't take drinks from people unless you see the bartender make it and hand it straight to you. And finally, there's Shu, the one guy I had hope for, but then again, not a rapist slash sexual abuser is a pretty low bar to clear. He did destroy her phone, which was stupid, especially since he expressed how much he disliked her when she first came there. But he did attempt to help her escape. Yui was just too stupid to take it. He still did the deed though and took her blood without permission as well. Yui is constantly trying to figure out their past, which is pointless. She never uses it to her advantage. And just look at her. If she was smart enough, she could totally use it against them. None of them are above being manipulated because of how blinded they are with Yui's blood, and all of them would fall for it. Yes, even Reiji. He touts himself as being smarter in general than his brothers, but he does the exact same thing as they do, and worse. Some of you people still might be thinking why I'm calling them rapists. Well, it's very simple. The act of blood drinking in vampire media for almost ever tends to show it as a very intimate or a very violent act. There are vampire shows and movies out there that don't have sex in them, but the act of blood drinking can easily replace it. Some of the most iconic vampire animes are very much sexless. One of my favorites, Vampire Princess Miyu, which if you haven't seen it you should, has some of the most intimate moments ever made, and there are certain episodes that will always make me cry no matter how many times I watch it. And then there's of course Hellsing OVA, which has the most intimate blood drinking scene ever.
You lost those pretty blue eyes of yours trying to save me. You lost your arm too. What a waste. Foolish, ma chère. Another time maybe, another place. You're a rare woman, Ceres. I die so that she can live? All right.
Oh god! I can't. I need a break, you guys. I'll see you next time. Pip.
My heart is full of hatred and loathing for your